I think Rishi Sunak is right to make stopping the boats a priority. He should, but perhaps not in the way that Suella Braverman intends. The parade, the flotilla of death is abhorrent and not something we should ever encourage. It's partly there because of Dublin 3 and because of leaving Dublin 3 when we effected Brexit. And we put up nothing in its place, like a sewer outlet directly into the English Channel. And we did nothing to shore up the hole. A little bit like Therese Coffey, indifferent to the slurry. And we have invited people to risk their lives by doing nothing. My recommendation would be to build application centres along the French coasts and to arrange transport from there and processing as much as we can to stop people making that dangerous crossing, risking their lives, and also to take away the power of smugglers and traffickers. But that's not what the government is doing. The government is trying to establish some sort of ideology. Braverman has followed Priti Patel in an ideological quest to link two issues together, to nail two problems on the same plank, to stop the boats and to prevent migrants from reaching the UK. It's not quite the same thing, despite the rhetoric that she and Priti Patel, the lady who has been ennobled for bullying, have invoked. Braverman put forward her illegal migration bill, and I'm sure she giggled over the irony of that title. And she pointed out, of course, that it would test existing international law. Now, human rights charities, the House of Lords and other MPs across Parliament have had the time to look into its legal framework more closely, and the reality that it manifests is squalid, utterly squalid. There's strong opposition to the bill in the Lords, so much so that Rishi Sunak is threatening the Parliament Act. I don't think he can, actually, because this wasn't in the manifesto. The opposition was led initially by the Archbishop of Canterbury, just a day or so after the coronation. And he was making the moral case, which I think is valid. Now, the legal case is more apparent. The work has been done. That same work that Suella Braverman and her lackluster Home Office advisors failed to do, where they were tardy and lazy, others have not been, like Priti Patel. As I say, the lady ennobled for bullying her staff. She may try to brazen it out and watch over her bill as it is ensnared in litigation, or she could take advice. Now, an SNP member and barrister, Joanna Cherry, or I should probably call her an advocate, as you would in Scotland, she became a QC in 2009 and had a reputation of being one of the most adroit barristers in Scotland before entering Parliament. She knows what she is doing. And she says children and victims of slavery would be particularly treated unfairly. The most vulnerable, she says, would be disproportionately affected by this bill, by detention without limit and removal from the UK, irrespective of the validity of their claim. She says that treating victims of modern slavery in this way is breaching our international obligations and also increasing the risk of further trafficking. She points out the inconsistency in Braverman's statement that she was unable to say that the bill was compatible with the European Convention on Human Rights, and then elsewhere she says that the bill is compatible with international law. In other words, Suella Braverman is simply lazy. We know this. She was schooled in the Liz Truss approach to to legal documents. Give me a summary. Let's not look at the detail. Joanna Cherry says that this illegal migration law, like the nationality law that preceded it, breaches international human rights obligations and risks breaching other human rights obligations and other laws. Specifically, it breaches the 1951 UN Convention, Refugee Convention, the 1961 UN Convention on the Reduction of Statelessness, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, the UN Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, the UN Convention for the Life of the anyway, it breaks the European Convention on Human Rights. The Nationality and Borders Act is already breaching the European Convention on Human Rights by introducing a two-tier system for refugees, which discriminates against the option for them to enjoy their own human rights. It discriminates automatically. It discriminates. And that's just the icing on the cake. I think there's far many more laws which are automatically being broken, literally being broken by this law going for royal assent. The moment it goes for royal assent, we are breaking laws. Excluding children and victims of human slavery from the scope of the bill risks providing incentives to human trafficking. That is indeed the case. And this is the Home Office position for resisting this solution. And they're right. It's the wrong solution. The only option here available is to jettison the bill altogether and to do some work to devise litigation that's effective and of value in saving lives and helping to monitor and regulate migration. This is not the way forward. This is lazy, stupid, and ham-fisted and over-speedy legislation, hasty legislation, which in the long run will prove to be a millstone round any government's neck. And I think the assumption is that it won't actually be effective until the next government is in place, and it will seriously damage the Labour Party when it comes to power. I think that's a cynical approach. I think it's a perfectly reasonable interpretation. I think any government who wants to have this law around their neck is stupid, utterly stupid, and it's been devised by somebody who is lazy and doesn't know what she's doing. And I'm afraid the civil servants who are supporting her are civil servants who we know the Home Office is not functioning properly. Why are we surprised? It's led by twits.